So I tweeted a story this morning about Billy Joel. He just played a concert. It may have been in New York. Anyway, the guy who was supposed to review the concert was running late and he was getting stuck in traffic, so he got there about 9 songs in. Billy usually plays about a 2.5-hour set. This particular set was 1 hour and 45 minutes. It was 19 songs, and every song was boom. There were no deep cuts.
Right.
It was just like boom. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic. I don't know if it's because Billy Joel's 72 years old. Maybe, or I don't know if it's because he's just playing what fans want to play.
Right.
I think for the most part, fans like hearing some deep cuts because they like to be surprised. Even if they don't know the deep cut, but if they listen to the entire album, they've heard the song. It may not be one of their favorite songs.
These are not new. There's a difference between deep cuts and new songs.
Yeah, and something that Billy does too is he does covers. And in this concert, he played Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin, and he played Tush from ZZ Top.
Hang on, I need to wrap my head around it.
I know, right? Let me tell you something about Billy Joel. I've only seen him once, and I wish I'd seen him again. Billy Joel may be the most, speaking of adapt or perish, he may be one of the most adaptable rock and rollers in history, if not the most adaptable. He has done an incredible job at staying relevant from decade to decade without sacrificing his musical.
He's still him.
It's still Billy Joel, but when you talk about the stuff from
that's true,
Glass Houses, the really old stuff.
Yep.
And then Uptown Girl, which had that doo-wop thing. Yes. We Didn't Start the Fire, which was an MTV kind of thing. He's incredible.
Well, and his it's interesting. You make a good point. He's stayed him. Like, not that he looks the same, but he's a guy who plays the piano, right? And he's sometimes he's jumping on the piano. Right. Sometimes he's sitting behind the piano. I mean, just the way you are. Yeah. Right. I mean, he can play like bar music, or lounge music, and you're right. Even though the songs have changed, it's still Billy Joel. You don't think about him. I've always thought he looks the same. I mean, he's a little balder and all that kind of stuff. But that's a real interesting. I was trying to think. Well, he's kind of Elton John.
He played Austin, Texas, Circuit of Americas in Austin a couple nights ago. He played Moving Out, Pressure, The Entertainer, Allentown, which was a hit, but I wouldn't expect to hear that. Zanzibar, Don't Ask Me Why, All for Lania, My Life, I Go to Extremes, Sometimes a Fantasy, Only the Good Die Young, Tush, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Piano Man. Then he encored with We Didn't Start the Fire, Uptown Girl, It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, Big Shot, You May Be Right, into Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin. I mean, that is like, even your mainstream Billy Joel fan would love that show. And I love the fact that he's doing this. The previewer said, sometimes you don't want a guy to play a song just to play the song.
Right.
You want him to feel like it's the first time he's ever played the song. That's why Bruce Springsteen concert is so great, because he plays every song like it's going to be the last time he ever stinking. But that's why he also plays for 3 hours. Right. And so he said there was a thing where he ripped like through 3 of the hits, one after another in succession. It was kind of like, whew, it was like, but it was still killer. Now, the one thing I don't like is when they play shortened versions. This ain't Las Vegas.
Well, because listen.
I hate that.
Do not do that, and I'll tell you why I don't do that. Because radio stations will do that.
I know.
They'll skip a verse.
We don't.
We don't do it. No, not here.
We do not.
But there is nothing more irritating. For those of us who cannot sing, but we love to belt it out in the car, we know every verse, and we're going and we're singing to the radio, and we're going in the verse, and the verse just went away.
Yeah, I do not like.
Why do they do that? Is it just for timing and clocks?
I have no idea. I don't know.
It doesn't make any
sense.
The songs are only 3 minutes long.
I can only think of several. I mean, if you've got...
There's a couple Eagles
If you've
songs.
got like 30 hits, and Billy Joel's got that, I'd rather you not play it at all than play a minute and a half of It's My Life.
Unless you're doing what is it called?
You're trying to please...
medley. If you're doing a medley, it's
medleys
okay.
suck. No, but medleys suck. Don't do... That's what I'm saying. Don't do medleys. Play the song or don't play the song at all. Play the whole thing.
I'm okay with a medley because then I don't expect it. Right? If it's just a medley, if I'm giving it 30 seconds, I don't prefer that, but I'm okay with a medley. What I don't want you to do is take the song. I don't want you to take the song and remove a verse, particularly if it's you.
Well, that's what a medley is.
No, but a medley's like it's a snippet. It's a montage.
I know, but you're cutting it. You're cutting it up. That's what a medley is.
Don't
do medleys.
So it's Lion Eyes in front of the Eagles. That's what all the stations do.
Yeah.
They cut out. There's one verse in there that they cut out.
Yeah.
I don't understand
it's
why.
It's like playing. Yeah. And again, but if you're Don McLean and you're doing American Pie, you better play the whole flipping thing. Yeah. But Don McLean ain't got 30 songs that we all know. Billy Joel does, so I can understand a short little medley. But he didn't do a medley. He just slammed one end to the other one end. And I find that I like that. I like when I get to a show, man, and the first three songs are like one after another, and it's like you can't even breathe. Yeah. I mean, you hope like hell you're not in the bathroom.
Well, then they do the new song.
Yeah. So I threw the question out, what is the perfect concert for you? Not who, but the perfect platform. And I would say, obviously, you want to play the biggest songs, Piano Man. I mean, you got to hear Piano Man, and I'm sure he's tired of playing the Piano Man.
That's Jimmy Buffett playing Margaritaville.
Warren Zevon used to do concerts and wouldn't play Werewolves of London, which by far was his biggest song, because he's like, I ain't playing it anymore because it's a novelty, but that's what people wanted to hear.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's kind of stupid. So you got to play what the fans want to hear. You have to patronize them a little bit. And then obviously you want to play a plethora of your hits. And in Billy Joel's case, he'd be playing for 6 hours if he played every big song he had. And then it'd be nice, but he did Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. He threw in a couple of, dark.
I'm okay with deep cuts. And again, we're talking about different kinds of artists in different times. I'm okay with the deep cuts. I'm not big. I understand with the tour. If you're doing a new tour, again, we're talking about Billy Joel's. We're doing a new tour again. You have to. Zach Brown's got a new album out, right? Mm-hmm. I get it. He's out on tour. They're going to be playing almost every song off that album, but that's why we're there, right? We're expecting that, and then they're going to give you, they're going to play Chicken Fried, and they're going to play it. What I don't like, and this is just me being probably a superficial fan, I don't like when here's a new song that we're just thinking, like that's when I go to the bathroom.
Well, no, but that's good because you're going to have to take a whiz during a concert.
No, but I like it. Yes, that's when I go to the bathroom.
No more than 3.
You're right.
On the new album. If someone's going out, now, depending on when you catch the tour, if you're on the backside of the tour, a couple of those songs may have already come out, and you know those songs by the time they play them, which is true. Nice. But if you're in the front side of the tour and they have a new album, you're going to hear some new songs. Now, if it's someone like James Taylor or Elton John's coming out with, everyone's got a pandemic album. Everyone's got a pandemic,
and a book,
and for the most part, the songs suck because they're pandemic songs. It's usually old stuff that they didn't finish. I'm not saying all of them. And certainly Sammy Hagar had a pandemic album, but he was just doing covers. He just did covers of other people's stuff.
Oh, pandemic album.
Yeah, it was an album they wrote during COVID. A COVID album.
See, the Zach Brown one is interesting because he's got a pandemic song.
Yeah.
It's called Comeback.
Well, that's fine. You can do a pandemic song. My point is are you coming out on an album just because there was a pandemic, or are you coming out with an album that you were planning on doing that was done during a pandemic?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Just don't call it. I forget what Elton John's album was called. But his Uber commercials are pretty funny. Or the Uber food commercials are pretty funny. No, so I mean, if you Paul McCartney did that too. Paul McCartney 3, he did a whole. He's like, and I'd rather him have material out than not have material out. I'd rather have new material. But if James Taylor came out with a new album, I'd want to hear some of his new stuff.
Just a couple things, though.
But James Taylor's mellow.
But that's what I'm saying. Paul McCartney's a good example. Would you want to hear all new Paul McCartney? No, just a few.
But, yeah, I would like to hear some new ones. But if Night Ranger, I like Night Ranger's new stuff. If Motley Crue had a new album out, I don't want to hear it. No. It's going to suck. Whitesnake's got a new album out. It came out like a year and a half ago. No one's heard a song from it because it all sucks. If David Coverdale, I want to play a new song, that's when I'm taking a piss. I may even go number 2 during that one. To take some more time, or I'm going to go get a beer.
Now you're talking about, nothing against these bands.
But they got to know because they see the stands empty out whenever they're good.
Right.
And if it's a ballad in a new song,
yeah.
And I've seen thousands of shows, so I kind of know when that thing's coming up. And sometimes when I've been backstage, I see the set list, which really kind of bums me out. It's kind of like knowing what you're going to get for Christmas.
Well, because now you go online. Right now you go online.
Well, yeah, but now but set lists change from night to night.
I know. Let me tell you this.
Don't be the guy. I know what's coming up next. I'll bet you he plays this next because you made it wrong.
Listen, so I'm a big Zac Brown fan. My whole family loves Zac Brown, and we went to go see our second concert, and two things I've seen happen, and it happened to us. Number one, he was sick, like he had like a upper respiratory infection, so he kept saying basically, we're not going to play. I got, y'all, I got a cold and I can't hit this song, so we're not going to play that song, And it was like he was systematic of, wait, you can't get rid of, like, you play it sick, like just sing about it. The other thing was we went in family. Again, this is a Klapow thing. This is when we call ourselves the Klapons. So we do certain things together, right? Klapon Family Adventures. We sort of do certain things. Well, if we do a concert together. I mean, everybody does it. You get the set list, or you get the new album. You get the new album. You have to memorize every song on the new album because you want to make sure. So we got the set list. We're ready to go. You're the
Griswolds.
Yeah, we are. It's a Griswold thing. So we're ready to go. We go to the concert. First thing he does is he says he's sick. Fine. Okay. I mean, look, I'm Jewish. I understand. Would you like, I got some aspirin. I could come down. I could help you.
Yeah.
But then, not only is he tossing out songs that he's not playing, then he's not playing anything on the set list. And he's playing like he's not playing the great songs, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than going to a concert. And I know everybody's got their different favorite song.
Yeah.
But like he's got like 6 songs and I would have taken 3 of them. And he didn't play any 3 of those.
Yeah.
And I walked out, I swear to God, I felt like I was gypped.
I was at Steely Dan, top 5 concert of all time at the concert hall. Jay Wilson, my good friend, set me up with a pair of tickets, and it was like last minute, and it was on the second row. I was with a good friend of mine. It was like
the BJC's concert hall.
It was one of the best concert experiences. I had a really good buzz going on. I was with one of my best friends. This was 10, 15 years ago, and the concert was great. And Donald Fagen was up there, and he's like, throws out, what do you want to hear, kind of thing.
Doing requests?
Yeah, just kind of funny kind of thing. Yeah. And I wanted to hear My Old School, which is one of my favorite songs. And I had gone back and looked and noticed they had not played that song in their previous 3 or 4 nights. And so I was like, but I know they've played it before. And I'm right there. So he's like, make it happen. What? And I was like, damn it. And so then he, and then a couple of other people, Reel in the Years, and he's like, and I was like, My Old School. And he's like,
what are you doing?
And I was like,
okay, that's.
And then the last song of the night,
My Old School.
He looks over at me, and goes,
okay,
and he goes into the piano, and it was like
the
moment. And then I come to find out that it was one of only about 8 shows in the entire tour that they played that song, and so I felt.
Do you know who you were?
I felt like I was special. I've only had several. No, I've only had a couple because I mentioned when I brought Cheap Trick on stage at the 5 Points Music Hall, a small venue for them. They had retired She's Tight, which is the song we play here, and they played that. And then Edgar Winter, when they played Lynn Park for City Stages, he's like, hey, man, what's going on, man? Is there something you want to hear? And I was like, yeah. I said, I'd love to hear. We all had a real good time. Oh, man, we don't play that anymore because, we got a computer program with the synthesizers, and it's got to be in the program in order to play. But we used to play it all the time. We don't play anymore, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's totally cool, man.
Are you making fun of his speech
impediment? That's how he speaks.
Okay, he's got a speech impediment.
Yeah, that or I got peanut butter in my lips. And then he ended up playing. He's like, hey, man, I pulled it up, and I want to play it for you. So it made me, he may have just been jerking me off, but it made me feel special.
I do like, since I moved here,
yeah.
And obviously I've been here 25 years, and I told you, coming from LA, I get very frustrated because in LA, just growing up, every concert, we went to hundreds of concerts because they just came. Everybody came and they would play 6 nights, 5 nights because it was LA. And when I moved here, it's just like, it never dawned on me because having only lived, wait, why are they going to Atlanta? Okay. Mm-hmm. But I do love that almost every band that I've seen, with a few exceptions here, will always play Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like...
At least the first couple chords. They don't always play the whole thing.
They get you just a little bit.
Yeah. Which is obligatory. They have to. Intermissions.
No, I don't like intermissions.
I don't even see now.
Because it's a weird... I understand. Again,
I like the full body experience, and if it's a 3-hour concert...
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen never played intermissions.
No,
he got 3 hours. But if they're going to play a 45-minute set, they're taking an intermission. It's just kind of like, part of me likes it because it's like seeing 2 concerts in one, and you get to go back and see, the second half.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the idea, I'd rather just rip through it.
I'm okay. I mean, I guess I'm okay if you need to take, you're the band. So it's like a halftime.
Yeah, depending on how old they are.
You take a rest. You got to hydrate. So I like that. Dr. Joe's one of our favorites. I have nothing against drummers. Love drummers. I'm not big on when the band walks off, so the drummer can have their solo. And I love drums, but it's like it's like a 15-minute drum solo, yeah. And I sort of feel like it's a combination of letting the drummer do his or her thing, which is great. But I also feel like I can't explain it. It's like, dude, you're filling time.
So growing up, remember, every show had a drum solo.
I know.
Every show, but the band didn't leave the stage. They just walk up the side, drink
I don't
water.
mind if you don't leave the stage. It's when you leave the stage, it's like you're leaving us with the drummer.
Every show, whether it was Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, Zeppelin,
everyone had
the drum. There was always a drum solo.
Totally.
I love it.
I am okay with that. What I am not okay with is leave the drummer out there who has the most physical job of anybody while you go get hydrated or whatever you're doing. And then the rest of us are sitting there and again, drum solos, love a drum solo. This is just my critique. I don't want a 12-minute drum solo.
Yeah.
It's just, give me a
Well, I would not have had my Def Leppard story.
Had there not been a drum solo.
Because they did this thing.
So the poor drummer.
They play like a 9-minute version of Rocket.
Right.
And as they're playing it, each member goes down, comes back up, plays, and then the next guy goes down, and they all kind of take their turn during Rocket, which is like
it's weird. But
I think they still do it. Rocket's a good song. That is one song. The edited version's fine. Because
I'm not a big.
The 9-minute version is kind of like it just.
I'm not a big. Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't have had that wonderful story of what happened in the round. God. Woo! Lawyer, teacher, student. Man, it was like Catholic schoolgirl night.
We've never asked Damon that on air.
It was great.
We've never asked him that.
It was great. Rick Allen down there with one arm. It was crazy.
Well, this is when he has one arm.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when he came back with the one arm?
Amazing.
It was the most, it was like you cried. I don't really cry at a concert.
That's resolve, my friend. When you are a drummer and you lose your flipping arm
do you remember
and
when he
figure
came
out how to
back?
play with your feet. Oh, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And he's a hell of a drummer.
Didn't he lose? Is he dead?
Rick Allen, no, he's still alive.
Didn't he lose his leg too?
No.
No, I think so.
Lord Almighty, dude. No,
I think something else happened to him. You sure he like?
No, he's fine.
I think maybe he lost his other arm.
He lost. No, he plays the drums with his head. He just taps the drum.
No. I think
that band, you would talk about some hell. They lose Steve Clark, drug overdose, their lead guitarist.
Maybe that was it.
And then they lose their drummer's arm in a car wreck. They're like, dude, God's telling you something. And then you can certainly make an argument that they've been more successful since Rick lost his arm than they've ever been. I mean, they've sold more records. But today is Keith Urban's birthday.
He's like, Keith Urban's an interesting cat. What is he?
Keith Urban is way too good looking.
Yeah. So Keith, I'll tell you a couple of Keith Urban things. So what is he? Is he like 50?
He's 54.
Okay. So Keith Urban looks like Andy Gibb. A little bit.
He's a hell of a guitar player.
Yes. He looks like Andy.
Better guitar player than he is a singer.
Yes.
Or songwriter, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
He can play a hell of a guitar.
And I like when he does. He always does. Every one of his songs, he gets it. So he looks like Andy Gibb. B, if you watch his early stuff about his early childhood, he was like a pop. He was like an Andy Gibb. That's B. C, he was the first artist. I wasn't big into country, but when I heard Keith Urban, I liked some of his songs, and then I find out he's like from Australia, and then I got this whole thing in my head. I don't know what this is. It doesn't make sense to me that you sound like a country singer, but you don't talk like a country singer. Mm-hmm. I don't like that.
His wife's the same way.
No. Nicole Kidman doesn't sing.
Yeah, but I mean, she's Australian, but she doesn't have to speak Australian. She can speak any way she wants.
Yeah, but she's an actress.
I know.
He's not an actress.
Maybe you learned that from her.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I'm glad that he has overcome his.
Every time I see him,
he's too good looking.
I know. Every time I'm like, whatever.
Well, but you know who else is? Tim McGraw. I think Tim McGraw is an eating disorder.
Tim McGraw.
I think Tim McGraw.
No, Tim McGraw's got a hell of a workout regimen. Actually,
I know. I'm worried about him.
But you don't ever see Tim without the hat. Sometimes you do, but he don't look the same without the hat.
No, isn't he bald?
A little bit. He's a good-looking guy.
He's a very good-looking
man.
guy.
Sunglasses and a hat can cover up a lot of stuff.
I know.
I'm just telling you, man. Don't ever date a woman or a man until they take their glasses off.
Absolutely.
I'm just telling you. Because you're like, I can see 90% of their face. It's got to be fine. If you can't see
they
their
all have
eyes,
the hat on.
It's amazing to me how many times I've seen somebody and they take their glasses off. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah. Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, he's got this workout regimen. He does videos and stuff.
I've seen him. He's vegan.
Yeah. And then, again, every time I say Keith, I go, Keith Urban.
Well,
I love his music. I think he's a great job.
The other one.
He's got
the other one's Kenny Chesney. So Kenny Chesney's
but Kenny's gay, right? That's what we've been saying.
I know. That's what I mean.
Thin, small, little, scrawny. He's he's a country Billy Squire.
Bald.
Country Billy Squire.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. If you're a country artist, you can keep your hat on. Like, 'cause if you're a rocker, you.
I remember when and I'll be on Jay Barker's radio network later this afternoon. I remember when he went to the first CMAs with his wife, and they're like, and he's a hat guy, but he wears baseball caps.
Yes.
He ain't a country.
No.
And I think he had some. I don't know what kind of hat. I have to ask about that. Because it's okay to wear hats when you're at a country, but he had a baseball cap on, and a couple times he didn't have a hat on at all. And then I said, "You look good in a cowboy hat," because he wears cowboy boots all the time.
Right,
it's all he wears.
But he's not. But he's yeah.
But he could wear a cowboy hat. He could pull it off. See, I can't. The only time I wore a cowboy hat was on a rode a bull.
You would look dumb. That's like me, you or me wearing a cowboy.
I'm not a good cat. I'm not. Well,
but also listen, it makes.
I wish I was.
But Jay's got to. You either have to be a country music artist. You have to be a rodeo person, a rancher.
Yeah.
Like you got to have a reason to wear the cowboy hat. And I'm just using it for Jay. Jay's in. He walks in those circles.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the artist himself.
Why do some people look good in baseball caps and some don't?
I look terrible.
I've never looked good in a baseball cap. And I can't tell if it's because I never wear one and I'm not used to seeing one, or I just look like, I look like an idiot.
Oh, are you kidding? My family will not. I can't wear it. They have like 3 hats that they allow me to wear.
You would look very...
it makes my small head look even smaller. It looks...
And then some guys look really good with baseball caps.
They do.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I can put one backwards and pull it off for a couple minutes.
Everybody can do backwards.